The dust on Theron 7 never settled. It hung in the thin atmosphere like a ghost, making everything look gray and dead. Captain Jiho Park moved through the ruins of what used to be a mining colony, his rifle ready, his eyes scanning every shadow. Behind him, 3 soldiers from his squad followed in silence. They had been walking for 6 hours, checking the debris field for anything useful. The war between humans and the Valkyrian Empire had been going on for 15 years. Jiho was only 17 when it started. Now he was 32 and he could barely remember what peace felt like. His squad was supposed to find supplies, maybe some salvageable tech from the destroyed ships that littered this moon. Nothing special. Just another mission in a war that seemed like it would never end. "Captain, got something on scanners," said Private Minho, the youngest member of the team. "Looks like a pod. Small one. Crashed about 2 clicks north." Jiho nodded. "Let's check it out." "Stay alert." They moved through the wreckage carefully. Broken ships stuck out of the ground like metal bones. Some were human, some were Valkyrian. It was hard to tell them apart anymore. Everything became the same color when it burned. The escape pod was half buried in the dirt, smoke still rising from its damaged hull. It was definitely Valkyrian design. Jiho could tell by the curved panels and the strange symbols marked on the side. His translator chip tried to make sense of the words but gave up after a few seconds. "Should we call it in?" asked Corporal Deho, the oldest soldier in the group. Jiho stared at the pod. Something felt wrong. Escape pods usually came from ships under attack, but there had been no major battles in this sector for 3 days. "Let me check it first." He approached slowly, rifle raised. The pod's door was cracked open, bent from the impact. He could hear something inside, a sound soft and scared. He pushed the door wider and looked in. A child stared back at him. She was small, maybe 8 years old if she was human. But she was not human. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes were large and golden, and her hair was white like fresh snow. She wore clothes that were too fancy for a war zone, all torn and dirty now. Blood stained her arm where she had cut it on the broken metal. She saw Jiho and screamed. It was a high, terrified sound that made his heart hurt. "It's okay," he said quietly, lowering his weapon. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." She did not understand his words. She pressed herself against the back of the pod, shaking. Behind him, Minho spoke up. "Captain, that's a Valkyrian kid. We should just leave it and report the position. Command can decide what to do." "She's hurt," Jiho said. "It's the enemy, sir," Deho added. "We leave her, we move on. That's protocol." Jiho looked at the girl again. She reminded him of someone. His sister. Sora had been 9 when she died in the bombing of Seoul Station. 15 years ago, at the start of the war, she had looked scared just like this girl, covered in dust and blood, crying for their mother. He could not walk away. "Get the medical kit," Jiho ordered. "Sir?" "This is a mistake," Deho said. "That's an order." "Corporal." Jiho climbed into the pod slowly, keeping his movements gentle. The girl watched him like a trapped animal. He pulled out his medical scanner and showed it to her, then pointed at her bleeding arm. She did not move. He carefully reached out and rolled up her sleeve. The cut was not deep, but it needed cleaning. He worked quickly, using the basic supplies they carried. The girl flinched at first, then seemed to realize he was helping. Her crying stopped. She watched his face with those strange golden eyes. When he finished bandaging her arm, he noticed something. A symbol on her collar. It was small and made of silver metal. His translator chip suddenly clicked on, recognizing it as text. "High nobility." This was not just any Valkyrian child. This was someone important. "Who is she?" Minho asked, looking over Jiho's shoulder. "Someone whose family will be looking for her," Jiho said quietly. As if answering his words, the sky lit up with streaks of light. Ships. Valkyrian ships. Lots of them. They were scanning the area, searching for something. "For her. We need to move," Deho said urgently. "Now." Jiho looked at the girl. He could leave her here. The Valkyrian ships would find her eventually. She would be safe. But what if they did not find her in time? What if a human patrol found her first? What if she died alone in this broken pod? He made a choice that would change everything. "Can you walk?" he asked the girl, knowing she could not understand. He held out his hand. She stared at it for a long moment. Then slowly she reached out and took it. Her hand was so small in his, so fragile. They left the pod and ran for cover. The old mining facility was 3 kilometers away. It had tunnels that went deep underground, places where scanners could not reach. Jiho carried the girl when she got tired. She did not fight him. She just held onto his armor and stayed quiet. The facility was dark and cold. They found a room far from the entrance and set up a temporary camp. Minho and Daeho kept watch while Jiho gave the girl some water and food. She ate slowly, still scared, but less than before. Command is going to ask where we are, Minho said. What do we tell them? Tell them we found Valkyrian activity and went dark to avoid detection, Jiho said. Buy us some time. Time for what? Daeho asked. What's the plan here, Captain? Jiho looked at the little girl. She had fallen asleep against his pack, exhausted. I'm going to figure out how to get her home. You've lost your mind, Daeho muttered. We're in the middle of a war zone protecting an enemy child. This is treason. Maybe, Jiho said, but I'm not leaving a kid to die. Not again, the words hung in the air. His squad knew about his sister. They knew why he had joined the military. They knew what drove him. Outside, the Valkyrian ships continued their search. The beams of their scanners cut through the darkness like white blades. Somewhere out there, someone was desperately looking for this child. A mother, a father, someone who loved her and feared they had lost her forever. Jiho did not know what would happen next. He only knew he had made a choice, and there was no going back now. 5 days had passed since Jiho found the girl. 5 days of hiding in the dark tunnels while Valkyrian ships searched the surface above. 5 days of trying to communicate with a child who spoke a language he did not know. The girl's name was Lyra. At least that was what it sounded like when she pointed to herself and said it. She was getting more comfortable around him now. She did not cry anymore. Sometimes she even smiled when he did something funny, like when he tried to eat the Valkyrian food from her pod's emergency supplies and made a face at the bitter taste. It's like eating metal, Jiho had complained. And even though Lyra did not understand the words, she had laughed at his expression. Now she was teaching him words. She would point at something and say the Valkyrian words slowly. Rock, water, sky, food. Then she would wait for him to repeat it. He tried his best, though his tongue struggled with the strange sounds. In return, he taught her Korean words. She was better at it than he was. Mul, she said carefully, pointing at the water bottle. Good, Jiho said with a smile. Yes, mull in water. Minho sat nearby, cleaning his rifle. This is insane. We've been here almost a week. Command thinks we're dead or deserted. We're running low on supplies. And we're playing language games with a Valkyrian kid. You have a better idea? Jiho asked. Yeah. We walk to the extraction point, call for pickup, and let someone else deal with this situation. And her? Jiho gestured to Lyra. Minho did not answer. They all knew what would happen if they handed her over to human command. She would become a prisoner. Maybe a hostage. Definitely not someone who would be treated well. Daeho came back from his watch shift looking worried. The Valkyrian ships are getting aggressive. They're not just scanning anymore. They're landing troops, setting up checkpoints. They're serious about finding something. They're looking for her, Jiho said. How important is this kid? Minho asked. Jiho had been wondering the same thing. The symbol on her collar meant nobility, but how high up? He watched Lyra drawing pictures in the dust with her finger. She drew a tall figure, then a smaller one next to it. Oma, she said, pointing to the tall figure. Then she pointed to the small one. Lyra, his translator chip picked up the word. Mother. She wants her mother, Jiho said quietly. Lyra looked up at him with those golden eyes. She said something in Valkyrian, fast and urgent. He did not understand most of it, but he caught a few words his chip translated. Mother, commander, important. Ships, commander, Daeho repeated. Her mother is a commander? Jiho felt his stomach drop. It made sense now. The fancy clothes, the noble symbol, the massive search operation. This was not just any child. This was the daughter of a Valkyrian military leader. That night, Jiho intercepted a Valkyrian transmission. His suit's computer was not supposed to be able to decode their encrypted channels. But military intelligence had given them new software 2 months ago. It worked about half the time. Tonight it worked. The voice that came through was female, cold as ice, speaking in clipped Valkyrian sentences. His translator struggled but got the basic meaning. All units continue search pattern Delta. The target must be found. She is small, age category juvenile, wearing formal dress. High Commander Vela offers double payment to the unit that locates her offspring. The transmission ended. "Hi, Commander Vela," Deho whispered. Oh no, no. What?" Minho asked. "You don't know that name? Vela? She's one of their top military leaders. The woman has destroyed entire fleets. She's responsible for the massacre at Kepler Station. They call her the Ice Queen." Jiho looked at Lyra, who was sleeping peacefully on the spare jacket he had given her as a blanket. This small, innocent child was the daughter of one of humanity's most feared enemies. "We're dead," Minho said flatly. "If the Valkyrians find us with her, we're dead. If humans find out we're protecting her, we're dead. We're just dead." "Nobody is dying," Jiho said, though he was not sure he believed it. 2 more days passed. Lyra got sick on day 7. She woke up shaking, her skin hot to the touch. Fever. The human medicine they had did nothing. Her body was different, needed different treatment. She curled up in pain, crying softly. Jiho held her hand, feeling helpless. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry." "We need Valkyrian medicine," Deho said. "Human supplies won't work for her." "Where are we supposed to get that?" Minho asked. Jiho made another difficult choice. "There's a Valkyrian outpost 12 kilometers south. Small one. Supply station." "You want to attack a Valkyrian outpost?" Deho stared at him. "I want to get medicine for a sick child," Jiho corrected. They went that night. Jiho left Minho with Lyra and took only Deho. The outpost was small, just as intelligence had reported. 5 guards, 1 building, supply crates stacked outside. They waited until the guards changed shifts, that moment when everyone was distracted. Jiho moved fast. He stunned 1 guard with his weapon set to silent mode, then slipped into the building while Deho kept watch. Inside he found what he needed. Medical supplies marked with symbols he had seen on Lyra's emergency kit. He grabbed everything he could carry and ran. The alarm went off when they were 3 kilometers away. Valkyrian soldiers would be coming. They ran harder. Back at the mining facility, Jiho used the Valkyrian medical scanner he had stolen. It showed him what Lyra needed. A blue liquid in a small tube. He injected it carefully into her arm. For 10 terrible minutes, nothing happened. Then her shaking stopped. Her breathing got easier. The fever began to drop. "You did it," Deho said, sounding amazed. Jiho sat down hard, suddenly exhausted. He had just raided an enemy outpost to save an enemy child. His own people would call him a traitor. The Valkyrians would kill him if they found him. He was caught between 2 sides with nowhere to go. Lyra opened her eyes. She saw him and smiled weakly. "Jiho," she said his name in her small voice. It was the first time she had said his name. He had not even realized she knew it. She reached out and took his hand. "Gomawo," she said, using the Korean word he had taught her. "Thank you." Jiho squeezed her hand gently. "You're welcome, Lyra." Later, while she slept, Deho spoke quietly. "Command sent new orders. They're going to carpet bomb this entire sector in 3 days. Clear it out for a new offensive." 3 days? Jiho repeated. "They don't know we're here. They think we're dead. Can we signal them? Tell them we're alive? And tell them what? That we're harboring the enemy commander's daughter? They'll order us to execute her and extract immediately." Jiho looked at Lyra's sleeping form. She trusted him. She called him by name. She held his hand when she was scared. He thought of his sister again. Sora had trusted him too. She had held his hand in the shelter while the bombs fell. He had not been able to save her, but maybe he could save this one. "We have 3 days," Jiho said. "We find a way to return her to her mother. It's the only way everyone survives this." "Her mother is a Valkyrian High Commander," Minho pointed out. "She'll kill us on sight." "Maybe," Jiho agreed. "But maybe she'll listen. She's a mother looking for her child. Mothers understand some things." In the darkness of the tunnel, with enemy ships searching above and his own forces about to destroy everything below, Jiho held onto a small hope. The hope that love for a child could cross the impossible distance between enemies. The hope that somewhere in that feared Ice Queen was a mother's heart. He had to believe it, because believing it was the only path forward that did not end in a small girl's death, and he would not let another child die, not while he could still do something about it. Day 13. Jiho sat in the darkness of the mining tunnel, listening to Lyra's soft breathing as she slept. Above them, both human and Valkyrian forces moved through the dead moon like predators hunting the same prey, except the prey was him. His communicator had been showing red alerts for the past 2 days. Emergency military channels all broadcasting the same message. Captain Jiho Park wanted for desertion and possible treason. Last seen in Sector 7 of Theron 7, kill on sight. Do not attempt capture. They really want you dead, Deho said, reading the same alerts on his own device. Can't blame them, Jiho replied. From their view, I disappeared with my squad during enemy contact. Didn't report in, didn't answer calls. Then I raided a Velcarian supply post. They think I defected. Did you? Minho asked quietly. It was a fair question. Jiho thought about it. No. I just refused to let a child die. The military doesn't see the difference. Lyra stirred in her sleep, making a small sound. She had nightmares sometimes. Jiho moved closer and touched her shoulder gently. She calmed down, still dreaming. She called him Uncle Jiho now. She had started doing it 3 days ago. He had tried to explain that uncle was for family members, but she insisted. In her mind, he was family. The man who had saved her, protected her, stayed with her when she was scared and sick. I intercepted another transmission, Deho said, pulling up his scanner. Velcarian command to High Commander Vela. Listen to this. The recording played. A male Velcarian voice speaking formally. Jiho's translator worked hard to make sense of it. High Commander, we have confirmed the human military will begin bombardment operations in this sector within 36 hours. We must withdraw all forces. The search cannot continue under these conditions. Request permission to evacuate. Then came a different voice, female. Cold and hard as steel. Permission denied. All forces will continue search operations. Coordinate with human forces. Offer ceasefire in exchange for the return of my offspring. Make them understand. Negative, Commander. Human High Command has refused all communication attempts. They view your presence in this sector as a strategic opportunity. They intend to eliminate you along with the sector cleanse. There was a pause. When Vela spoke again, her voice was different, quieter, more dangerous. Then they have made their choice. Ready all combat units. If they will not listen, we will make them listen. The recording ended. She offered them a ceasefire, Minho said in disbelief. She was willing to stop fighting if they helped find her kid. And they said no? They want to use the bombardment to take out a high-value target, Jiho said. They don't care about one Velcarian child. They see a chance to kill one of their top commanders. That's cold, Deho muttered. That's war, Jiho replied, but saying it did not make him feel better. Humans and Velcarians had been killing each other for 15 years. Everyone had lost someone. Everyone had reasons to hate. But this was different. This was a mother trying to find her child, and his own side was using that love as a weapon. Lyra woke up, rubbing her eyes. She smiled when she saw Jiho. Good morning, she said in careful Korean. Good morning, Lyra, he replied in Velcarian, using the words she had taught him. She had gotten good at basic Korean in 13 days. Children learned fast. She could say simple things now. Hungry, tired, scared, happy, thank you. She had also learned the word for mother. She said it often, always with sad eyes. Today she said something new. She pointed at Jiho and said a Velcarian word his translator picked up. Father. No, he corrected gently. Not father, friend. She shook her head stubbornly. Father, she repeated. Then she thought hard, searching for the right Korean word. Appa. Jiho felt his chest tighten. Appa, Dad. Lyra, I'm not your father. Second father, she said, mixing Velcarian and Korean words. Mother is first. You are second. You protect Lyra, you give medicine, you stay. That is father. How did he explain to a child that he was just a soldier who had made a choice, that this was not permanent, that soon he would have to give her back and probably die doing it? He could not. So he just nodded. Okay, Lyra, second father. She beamed at him, happy with this answer. Minho pulled Jiho aside later. We need to talk about the reality here. We have 36 hours before this whole sector gets turned into dust. Both militaries want us dead. We can't hide forever. I know. So what's the plan? Jiho had been thinking about this for days. There was only one path forward that saved everyone. It was dangerous. Probably stupid, but it was all he had. We contact High Commander Vela directly, he said. We tell her we have Lyra. We arrange a meeting. I return her daughter. And then she kills us, Deho said flatly. Maybe. Or maybe she honors the fact that we kept her child safe. You're betting our lives on maybe. You have a better idea? Nobody did. They spent the next 6 hours preparing. Jiho composed a message in simple Velcarian. using the words Lyra had taught him. He kept it direct. "Hi, Commander Vela. I am Captain Jiho Park, human military. I have your daughter. She is safe and healthy. I wish to return her. I will come to neutral ground under white flag. I ask only that you let my men go free. They were following my orders. This is my choice alone." He broadcasted on all Valkyrian military frequencies. The response came within 20 minutes. Vela's voice was sharp, immediate. "Human captain. Provide proof of claim immediately." Jiho looked at Lyra. "Can you talk to your mother? Tell her you're okay?" Lyra's eyes went wide. "Uma? My Uma?" "Yes, talk here." He pointed to the communicator. Lyra grabbed it with both hands. She spoke rapidly in Valkyrian, her voice high and excited and scared all at once. She talked for 2 full minutes without stopping. Jiho caught some words. "Safe, nice human. Uncle Jiho protected me. Gave medicine. Not hurt." When she finished, there was silence on the other end. Then Vela spoke. Her voice was shaking. "Lyra, my star. My precious star. Are you truly well?" "Yes, Amma, I'm okay. Uncle Jiho is good. He saved me." Another pause. "Let me speak to this human." Lyra handed the communicator back to Jiho. He took a breath. "I'm here. You have protected my daughter." Vela's voice was different now. Still cold, but something else underneath. Something raw. "Why?" "Because she is a child. Children should not die in our wars. You are human. We are enemies." "Yes," Jiho agreed. "But she is still a child." "Valence. Then I will meet you. Neutral ground. The ruined city at coordinates 478 by 221. Tomorrow at midday. Come alone with my daughter." "My men come with me," Jiho said. "They get safe passage after I return Lyra." "Agreed. But understand this, human. If this is a trap, if you have harmed my daughter in any way, I will destroy everything you love. I will burn your world to ash." "I understand," Jiho said. "And High Commander? Your daughter really is okay. I give you my word." The communication ended. Jiho stared at him. "You just arranged a meeting with the Ice Queen. We're going to walk into what might be a trap, hand over the one thing keeping us alive, and hope she doesn't kill us." "That's about right," Jiho agreed. "This is insane. Yes, we're all going to die. Maybe." Lyra tugged on Jiho's jacket. "You come with me?" "To see Amma?" Jiho knelt down to her eye level. "Yes, I will take you to your mother. But Lyra, you need to understand something. After tomorrow, I probably won't see you again. Your mother and I are on different sides of this war." Her golden eyes filled with tears. "No, you stay. You are second father. You stay with Lyra and Amma." "It doesn't work that way, little one." "Make it work," she said stubbornly. "Amma is very smart. Very strong. She fix everything. You be nice to Amma. Amma be nice to you. Everyone be nice. No more fighting, if only it were that simple. If only a child's logic could stop a 15-year war. If only being nice to each other was enough." But Jiho smiled anyway. "I will try my best to be nice to your mother. Promise?" "I promise." She made him promise one more thing before she would sleep that night. She made him promise not to die. He held her small hand and promised, even though he knew it was a promise he might not be able to keep. Tomorrow would come. He would walk into that ruined city with Lyra and his 2 soldiers. He would meet one of humanity's greatest enemies face to face, and he would hope that somewhere in that feared commander was a mother who would understand what he had done. He recorded a message that night, just in case. A message to his parents, to his sister's memory, explaining his choices, saying goodbye, asking them to understand, then he deleted it. If he was going to walk into tomorrow believing he would survive, he could not prepare for death. "Let's get some sleep," he told his squad. "Tomorrow we end this, one way or another." The ruined city looked like a graveyard in the pale morning light. Buildings stood like broken teeth against the gray sky. Nothing moved except the dust. This place had been destroyed in the first year of the war, and nobody had bothered to rebuild it. Now it was just empty, a perfect place for a meeting between enemies. Jiho walked down what used to be a main street, his rifle slung across his back in clear view, but not pointed at anything. Lyra held his hand tightly. She was wearing the cleaned version of her formal dress, her white hair brushed as neat as he could make it. She had wanted to look good for her mother. Behind them, Minho and Daiho followed at a distance, their weapons ready but lowered. All three men wore white strips of cloth tied to their arms. The universal sign of truce. It would not stop someone from shooting them, but it was the best they could do. "You're sure about this?" Minho asked for the 10th time. "No," Jiho answered honestly. They reached the central square. It was open, surrounded by broken buildings. Easy to see everything, hard to hide. Jiho's tactical mind noted all the places where snipers could hide, all the angles for an ambush. If Vela wanted them dead, this was a perfect killing ground. Lyra squeezed his hand. "It's okay, Uncle Jiho. Amma will be nice." "You will see." He hoped she was right. He really did. They waited in the center of the square. The wind blew dust around their feet. Minutes passed. Jiho's heart beat faster with each one. What if Vela did not come? What if she sent soldiers instead? What if this whole thing was a mistake? Then he heard it. The sound of engines. Valkyrian engines. A ship descended from the clouds, sleek and dark, with the symbols of high military command painted on its hull. It landed on the far side of the square, its engines making the dust swirl into small storms. The rear ramp lowered. Soldiers came out first, 4 of them tall and armored, their weapons ready. They took positions around the ramp, watching everything. Then she appeared. High Commander Vela was tall, even for a Valkyrian. She wore armor that was both functional and beautiful. Dark metal with silver details that showed her rank. Her face was angular and sharp, her eyes the same golden color as Lyra's but harder, colder. Her white hair was pulled back in a military style, severe and perfect. She looked every bit the warrior commander who had destroyed entire human fleets, the Ice Queen, the woman who had killed thousands. But when she saw Lyra, something changed in her face. Something broke through that cold mask. "Lyra," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "Amma." Lyra let go of Jiho's hand and ran. Vela met her halfway, dropping to her knees and pulling her daughter into a fierce embrace. She held Lyra like she would never let go, her whole body shaking. For a moment she was not a commander or a warrior. She was just a mother who had found her lost child. Jiho stood back, giving them space. He felt his throat tighten watching them. This was why he had done everything. This moment right here. Vela held Lyra for a long time, whispering things in Valkyrian that Jiho could not hear. She checked her daughter over, touching her face, her arms, looking for injuries. When she saw the bandage on Lyra's arm, her eyes hardened. "Who hurt you?" Vela demanded. "The crash," Lyra said quickly. "The pod broke. Uncle Jiho fixed it. He gave me medicine when I was sick. He protected me." Vela's golden eyes lifted to meet Jiho's. They were intense, calculating, measuring him. "You are the human captain." "Yes, Commander," Jiho said. He made himself stand straight, not showing fear even though his heart was racing. "Captain Jiho Park, Terran Defense Force." She stood, keeping one hand on Lyra's shoulder. "You protected my daughter for 2 weeks. You gave her medical care. You kept her safe during combat operations." She said it like she was reading a report, her voice neutral. "Why?" It was the same question she had asked over the communicator. Jiho gave the same answer. "Because she is a child. She should not pay for our war. We are enemies. Yes, I have killed many humans. I know. You have killed many Valkyrians." "Yes," Jiho admitted. "I have." Vela studied him for a long moment. "You raided one of our supply outposts. For medicine. Your daughter was sick. Human medicine does not work on Valkyrian biology. I did what was necessary. You risked your life, your career, your freedom." She stepped closer. "For an enemy child." "For a child," Jiho corrected. "Just a child." Lyra pulled on her mother's armor. "See, Amma? I told you. Uncle Jiho is good. He is second father. You should keep him." Vela looked down at her daughter in surprise. "Second father?" "Yes, he takes care of me. He stays when I'm scared. He is family now." Lyra said it with the absolute certainty that only children have. Before Vela could respond, alarms blared. The Valkyrian soldiers suddenly moved, raising their weapons toward the sky. Jiho's squad did the same, looking up. Human ships, 3 of them military class, descending fast. "No," Jiho whispered. "No, they were supposed to stay away." The ships opened fire. Not at the Valkyrians. At the square itself, artillery shells screamed down from the sky. "They're trying to kill us all," Deho shouted. Vela grabbed Lyra. "Get to the ship." But there was no time. The first shells hit the buildings around them. Stone and metal exploded outward. The ground shook. Jiho saw a wall collapsing, falling toward where Vela stood with Lyra. He moved without thinking. Pure instinct. He threw himself forward, tackling both of them out of the way. The wall crashed down where they had been standing, huge chunks of concrete and metal. More explosions. The square was becoming hell. Valkyrian soldiers returned fire at the human ships. Human artillery kept coming down. Everything was smoke and noise and chaos. Jiho covered Vela and Lyra with his body as debris rained down. Something hit his back hard enough to crack his armor. Pain shot through his side. He felt blood, hot and wet. Move, Vela shouted. She was up, pulling Lyra with one hand. She grabbed Jiho's arm with the other, hauling him to his feet with surprising strength. To my ship now. They ran through the explosions. Jiho's squad followed. One of the Valkyrian soldiers went down, hit by shrapnel. Minho grabbed him, dragging him along. No man left behind, even enemy soldiers. The Valkyrian ship's ramp was still down. They ran up it, stumbling into the cargo bay. The ramp closed behind them. The ship lifted off immediately, engines roaring, climbing fast through the fire. Jiho collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. His side hurt badly. When he looked down, he saw red spreading across his armor. More than he thought. "You're bleeding," Lyra said, her voice scared. "It's okay," Jiho tried to say, but his vision was getting dark around the edges. Vela barked orders at her soldiers. Two of them grabbed Jiho, carrying him deeper into the ship. He heard Lyra crying, heard Vela saying something about medical bay, heard Minho demanding to know where they were taking his captain. Then everything went black. When consciousness came back in flashes, Jiho saw strange things. Valkyrian medical equipment, blue lights, faces looking down at him, alien faces with golden eyes, voices speaking in a language he did not understand. He saw Lyra's face, wet with tears. "Don't die, Uncle Jiho, you promised. You promised you wouldn't die." He had promised. He tried to tell her he would keep that promise, but the words would not come out. He saw Vela's face, intense and focused. She was speaking to someone, giving orders. He caught a few words through his fading consciousness. "Stabilize him. Use whatever is necessary. He saved my daughter's life. Save his." The last thing he remembered before the darkness took him completely was a small hand holding his. Lyra staying with him, not letting go. Just like he had not let go of her in that escape pod 2 weeks ago. Then there was nothing but black silence and dreams of his sister. Sora was there in the dreams, smiling at him. "You did good, big brother," she said. "You saved her. You kept your promise to me. You saved a little girl." When he finally woke up fully, he had no idea how much time had passed. He had no idea where he was. And he had no idea that everything in his life had just changed forever. But he was alive. Against all odds, he was alive, and somewhere nearby he could hear a child's laughter. Lyra's laughter. Maybe, just maybe, he had done something right. Jiho woke slowly, fighting through layers of fog in his mind. His body felt heavy and distant, like it did not quite belong to him. He tried to move and felt a sharp reminder in his side that moving was a bad idea. Where was he? The ceiling above him was curved and smooth, made of some dark metal with lights embedded in it. Not human design. The air smelled different too, cleaner somehow, with a faint metallic taste. He turned his head carefully and saw medical equipment he did not recognize, screens showing things in Valkyrian text, tubes running from his arm to bags of clear liquid, a monitor beeping steadily, showing his heartbeat. He was on a Valkyrian ship. The memories came back slowly. The meeting. The bombardment. Covering Vela and Lyra from the falling wall. The pain in his side. "You are awake." Jiho turned toward the voice. Vela sat in a chair beside his bed, her armor removed, wearing a simple dark uniform. She looked tired. There were shadows under her golden eyes. "How long?" Jiho's voice came out rough. 3 days, she said. "You were seriously injured. The debris damaged your spine. Our doctors had to repair it. 3 days. He had been unconscious for 3 days. My squad? Alive, being held in comfortable quarters. Not prisoners exactly. More like guests who cannot leave yet. Yet? Vela leaned forward. "We need to talk, Captain Jiho Park, about what happens next." Before Jiho could respond, the door opened. Lyra ran in, her face lighting up when she saw him. "Uncle Jiho! You're awake." She climbed carefully onto the bed, mindful of his injuries. She was wearing clean clothes now, proper Valkyrian style. Her hair was braided. She looked healthy and happy. "Hey, little one," Jiho said, managing a small smile. "Sorry I scared you." "You kept your promise," she said seriously. "You didn't die." "I try to keep my promises." Lyra looked at her mother. "Can he stay, Uma? Can Uncle Jiho stay with us?" Vela's expression was complicated. "It is not that simple, my star." "Why not?" "He is good. He saved me. He saved you too. He is family. He is human. We are Valkyrian. There is a war." "Then stop the war," Lyra said with a child's simple logic. If only it were that easy. Vela reached out and touched her daughter's hair gently. "Go play with your toys for a while. I need to speak with Captain Park alone." Lyra looked like she wanted to argue, but she obeyed her mother. Before she left, she hugged Jiho carefully. "Don't go away," she whispered. After the door closed, silence filled the room. Vela stood and walked to the window. Outside, Jiho could see stars. They were in space, moving somewhere. Away from Theron 7. "I investigated you while you were unconscious," Vela said, still looking at the stars. "I accessed military records. Both yours and mine. Do you know what I found?" "I'm sure you found everything," Jiho said quietly. "You were at the Battle of Kepler Station. 4 years ago. You were there when my mate died." Jiho felt his chest tighten. He had been at Kepler. It had been a brutal battle. Thousands died on both sides. I was there. His name was Draven. He commanded the Third Fleet. "Your forces ambushed us. We lost 8 ships that day. I know." "We lost 6, Jiho paused. "I'm sorry for your loss." Vela turned to face him. Her eyes were hard but not angry. "Not anymore." "I read the battle logs carefully." "The detailed ones. There was an incident. A damaged Valkyrian ship, the Stormbreaker. It was dead in space, engines destroyed, life support failing. Your human ships ignored it, left it to die," Jiho remembered. He closed his eyes. "The captain ordered us to move on. Said they were already dead," I argued. "He said to follow orders or be arrested." "But you did not follow orders, did you?" "No. I sent a distress signal with the ship's coordinates on an open channel. I hoped someone on your side would hear it and come help them." "Someone did," Vela said softly. "That ship carried 62 Valkyrians. Your signal saved them. One of them was a young medical officer named Kira. She wrote in her report about the strange human message that saved their lives. She never knew who sent it. Jiho had not known either. He had sent that signal and then his unit moved on. He never found out if it mattered. I'm glad they survived. Kira is now my chief medical officer. She is the one who operated on you. When she saw you were human, she wanted to let you die, until I showed her the old report. Until I told her you were the one who saved her life 4 years ago." The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitors. "You have always been this way," Vela continued. "I read other reports, other missions. You have a history of making choices that save lives, even enemy lives. Even when it costs you. You were demoted twice for disobeying orders that you felt were wrong." "I don't like unnecessary death," Jiho said simply. "Neither do I." Vela sat down again. "But we are soldiers. Death is our profession." "No, winning is our profession. Death is just the tool we're forced to use." Vela looked at him for a long moment. "That is an unusual way for a soldier to think. Maybe that's why I'm good at it. I remember what we're actually fighting for. And what are we fighting for, Captain? To protect the people we love. To keep them safe. To give them a future." Jiho met her eyes. "You fight for Lyra. I fought for my sister's memory so other sisters wouldn't die. It's the same thing, really, just on different sides." Vela stood again, pacing now. "My people will ask questions. They already are. Why is a human alive on my flagship? Why did I evacuate enemy soldiers? Why am I not executing the man who raided our supply post? What will you tell them? The truth. That you saved my daughter's life. That you protected her for 2 weeks when you could have left her to die. That you gave her medical care at great personal risk. That when human forces tried to kill us both, you used your body as a shield." She stopped pacing. "In Valkyrian culture, that creates a debt. A life debt. I don't want anything in return," Jiho said. "I just wanted Lyra to be safe, I know. That makes the debt even greater." Vela turned to face him fully. "You cannot return to human space. They have declared you a traitor. Kill on sight orders. Your own people want you dead." Jiho had known this was coming, but hearing it still hurt. "I understand. You also cannot simply leave this ship and go somewhere neutral." "Both sides will hunt you. You know too much. You have seen too much. You would live your life running. So what are my options? One option, Vela corrected. You stay here, under my protection, as a member of my household. Jiho stared at her. You want me to join the Valkyrian military? No, I want you to accept sanctuary. I want you to accept that you have earned a place here if you want it. You would not fight against humans. You would simply be protected, safe. Why would you do that? Because I owe you a debt I can never fully repay. Because my daughter loves you. Because you are the first enemy I have met who I actually respect. Vela's voice softened slightly. And because I am tired of this war. I'm tired of killing. I am tired of death. Maybe having you here will remind me that the enemy is not faceless, that you are people too, with families and reasons and pain just like us. Jiho looked toward the door where Lyra had left. He thought about his options. Go back to humanity and die. Try to hide somewhere and spend his life running. Or stay here safe but separated from everything he knew. What about Minho and Daeho? My squad? They can choose the same. Stay under my protection or take a small ship to neutral space and try their luck. I will give them supplies and a head start. It is the best I can offer. It was more than fair, more than generous, really. I need to talk to them. Of course, Minho and Daeho came an hour later. They looked tired but healthy. When they saw Jiho awake, relief flooded their faces. Captain, Minho said. You look terrible. Feel worse, Jiho replied, managing a weak smile. Sit. We need to talk about what happens next. He explained Vela's offer. Both men listened quietly. So basically, we stay here as permanent guests of the enemy commander, or we run for the rest of our lives, Daeho summarized. That's about it, Jiho agreed. What are you going to do? Minho asked. Jiho looked at the ceiling thinking, I'm going to stay. Lyra needs someone, and I think Vela is telling the truth. I think she wants peace as much as we do. Maybe I can help with that somehow. You really think so? I have to believe it. Otherwise, what was all this for? Daeho stood up. Then I'm staying too. You saved my life more times than I can count, Captain. I'm not leaving you alone on an enemy ship I'm in, Minho added. Besides, the food here is actually better than military rations. That alone is worth staying. Despite everything, Jiho laughed. It hurt his side, but he laughed anyway. Later that night, Lyra came to say goodnight. She climbed onto the bed and curled up against Jiho's good side. You're staying? She asked hopefully. Yes, I'm staying. Good. Now you and Uma can be friends, and we can be family, a real family. Jiho stroked her white hair gently. It's more complicated than that, little one. Why? Why is everything always complicated with grown-ups? Because we forget how to keep things simple. Lyra yawned, getting sleepy. When I grow up, I will keep things simple. No wars. Just people being nice. That sounds perfect, Jiho said softly. He looked up and saw Vela standing in the doorway watching them. Her expression was soft, almost vulnerable. A mother looking at her daughter, safe and happy. Their eyes met across the room. No words were needed. In that moment, something shifted. An understanding. A recognition that they were no longer simply enemies. They were two people trying to protect the same child. Maybe that was enough to build something new on. Maybe that was the first step toward 2 weeks passed aboard Vela's flagship, the Starborn. Jiho healed slowly, his Valkyrian doctors checking on him every day. The medical officer, Kira, had warmed up to him after learning he was the one who saved her years ago. She taught him basic Valkyrian anatomy while treating him, saying it might be useful to know the difference between their species. Your bones are denser, she explained one day. Your muscles different. That's why our medicine does not work well on humans. It's like trying to fix a hovercar with spaceship parts. Similar function, different design. Jiho's days fell into a strange routine. Mornings with Lyra, teaching her more Korean while she taught him more Valkyrian. Afternoons resting or talking with Minho and Daeho, who had also chosen to stay. Evenings were dinner, usually in Lyra's quarters since Vela was busy with command duties. The ship itself was massive, carrying over 2,000 crew members. Most ignored Jiho, which was fine with him. Some stared with open hostility. A few were curious, asking him questions about Earth and human culture when they thought their officers were not watching. Vela kept her distance mostly, appearing only for brief moments to check on Lyra or get reports from her medical team. She was always professional, always formal, but sometimes Jiho caught her watching him with an expression he could not read. On day 16, everything changed. Jiho was walking through one of the observation decks when he heard arguing. He recognized one voice immediately, Lyra, crying and upset. He found her cornered by two Valkyrian officers he had not met before. They wore formal military dress, their armor decorated with symbols of high rank. The human should not be here, one was saying to Lyra. He is the enemy. Your mother dishonors herself by keeping him aboard. Uncle Jiho is good, Lyra protested, tears on her face. He saved me. He is human. Humans killed your father. Humans kill our people every day. Jiho stepped forward. That's enough. Both officers turned. The taller one sneered. The human speaks. Tell me, do you enjoy living among those you betray? I betrayed no one, Jiho said calmly. I protected a child. If that's betrayal, then your honor system means nothing. You dare speak of our honor? The officer moved closer, his hand on his weapon. You who raid our supplies and hide among our ships like a parasite? Corvin, stop this. The voice came from behind Jiho. He turned and saw a third Valkyrian officer approaching. This one was older, with scars on his face and a quieter authority in his movement. This does not concern you, General Thane, Corvin said. It concerns me when you threaten a child and a man under the High Commander's protection. Thane looked at Jiho. You must be Captain Park. I have heard much about you. Nothing good, I assume, Jiho replied. On the contrary, the story of what you did for young Lyra has spread through the ship. Many admire your actions even if they distrust your species. Thane glanced at Corvin. Others, however, see your presence as weakness. The High Commander shows weakness by keeping him, Corvin said. She should execute him and be done with it. She shows strength by honoring a life debt, Thane corrected. That is our way, has been for centuries. Our way is also to destroy our enemies, not give them shelter. Corvin turned back to Jiho. You are an insult to every Valkyrian who has died in this war. Your presence here disgraces us all. Before Jiho could respond, Lyra ran between them. No, Uncle Jiho is not bad. You're being mean. Lyra, stay back, Jiho said, pulling her behind him gently. Corvin's eyes narrowed. Even the child forgets her place, defending humans over her own kind. This is what comes from weakness. Call me weak one more time, said a cold voice, and you will learn exactly how weak I am. Everyone turned. Vela stood in the corridor entrance, still in her command armor. She must have just come from the bridge. Her golden eyes were hard as stone, fixed on Corvin. High Commander, Corvin bowed, but there was no respect in it. I was merely expressing concern about the human's presence on your flagship. You were threatening my daughter and my guest, Vela corrected. I heard every word. Guest? He is the enemy. He is the man who saved my daughter's life at great risk to his own. He is under my protection. That should be enough. It is not enough, Corvin said boldly. Many of us question your judgment. Keeping a human aboard, allowing him freedom of the ship, treating him as anything other than a prisoner. It looks weak to the other fleets. It makes them wonder if you have gone soft. The temperature in the corridor seemed to drop. Vela took a step forward. Are you questioning my command, Commander Corvin? I am questioning your choices, as is my right as a noble of the Third House. Vela was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried through the corridor. General Thane, summon all senior officers to the main hall immediately. Commander? Thane asked, surprised. Do it. If there are questions about my choices, they will be answered. Now. An hour later, Jiho stood in the largest room he had seen on the ship. The main hall was designed for ceremonies and important gatherings. Hundreds of officers lined the walls, all in formal dress. Jiho felt their eyes on him like physical weight. Vela stood on a raised platform at the front, Lyra beside her. Jiho had been positioned near them, with Minho and Deho standing behind him. He did not understand what was happening, but he knew it was important. Vela began to speak in Valkyrian, her voice carrying through the silent hall. Jiho's translator worked hard to keep up. Many of you have questions about Captain Jiho Park's presence on this ship. You wonder why I protect him, why I grant him freedom, why I do not treat him as an enemy. She paused. You deserve answers. The room stayed silent, waiting. When my daughter was lost, I thought I would never see her again. In those dark days, I was prepared to burn worlds to find her. I offered ceasefires. I begged our enemies for communication. I would have paid any price. Vela's voice caught slightly. But humans refused all contact. They saw an opportunity to use my pain as a weapon. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Everyone knew about the search. Everyone had participated. Then a message came. A human captain saying he had Lyra, saying she was safe. I expected a trap. I expected demands for ransom or military advantage. What I found instead was a man who had protected my daughter for 2 weeks, asking for nothing in return except safe passage for his soldiers. Vela looked at Jiho. Captain Park did not have to save Lyra. He could have left her in that escape pod to die. He did not have to care for her when she fell ill. He could have left her to suffer. He did not have to shield her with his body when bombardment came. He could have saved himself. But every time he chose her life over his own safety, she turned back to the crowd. In our culture, this creates a debt. A life debt, the highest form of obligation. My daughter lives because of this human. I live because of this human. And now some of you question why I honor that debt. Corvin stepped forward. With respect, Commander, a life debt to an enemy is still a debt to an enemy. How can we trust him? How do we know this is not some elaborate human deception? Because I investigated him thoroughly. Because his own people have declared him a traitor and ordered his death. Because he has nothing to gain and everything to lose by being here. Vela's voice grew harder. And because my daughter, who does not lie, tells me he is good. I trust her judgment more than I trust your suspicions. But, Commander, I am not finished, Corvin. Vela raised her voice. You speak of tradition, of honor, of our ways. Then let me invoke the oldest tradition we have. She moved to the center of the platform. What she said next made the entire room gasp. By the ancient right of the high houses, by the law of life debt, by my authority as High Commander and Matriarch of the First House, I make this declaration. She looked directly at Jiho. Captain Jiho Park, you are mine. I claim you under my protection, under my name, under my house. Any who harm you, harm me. Any who dishonor you, dishonor me. You are no longer merely a guest. You are part of my household. This is declared before all witnesses. Silence crashed through the hall like a wave. Jiho felt his heart stop. He looked at General Thane, who stood nearby. The old warrior's eyes were wide with shock. Vela had not just offered him protection. In Velkarian culture, from what little Jiho understood, this was something much deeper. This was adoption into nobility. This was making him family, but it was also being interpreted as something else. He could see it in the faces around him. The whispers starting. In Velkarian tradition, when a matriarch claimed someone this way, it often meant romantic intent. It meant she was declaring him as a potential mate. Commander Vela, Corvin said, his voice tight. Do you understand what you have just done? The implications? I understand perfectly, Vela said. I have made my position clear. Captain Park is under my direct protection. He is mine to defend. Anyone who challenges this challenges me personally. Is that clear enough? No one spoke. The weight of her words hung in the air. Good. This council is dismissed. The officers began to file out, talking in hushed voices. Jiho stood frozen, not sure what had just happened. Lyra ran to him, hugging his leg. See? I told you Uma would fix everything. Vela approached, and for the first time since he met her, she looked uncertain. I apologize for not warning you, but it was Nessie 6 months past like a strange dream. Jiho had never imagined his life would turn out this way. He lived aboard the Starborn, no longer as a guest but as part of Vela's household. He had his own quarters now, right next to Lyra's, decorated with a mix of human and Velkarian items. His role had evolved naturally. At first he simply spent time with Lyra, teaching her about Earth and human culture. But Vela started asking him questions too. Questions about human military tactics, about human psychology, about why humans made certain strategic choices. I don't understand this move, she would say, showing him battle reports. Why would they sacrifice this position for no tactical gain? And Jiho would explain, because the soldiers stationed there are from the same colony. They're protecting their home. It's not about tactics, it's about emotion. These conversations became regular. Vela started bringing him into planning sessions, asking for his perspective. The other officers were uncomfortable at first having a human in their strategic meetings. But they could not argue with results. Jiho's insights saved lives. When he predicted where human forces would retreat to based on cultural patterns, Vela ordered her ships to avoid those areas, instead of pursuing. When he explained why certain human commanders would never surrender even when losing, She found ways to offer honorable retreats instead of total destruction. The casualty numbers dropped. Not dramatically, but enough to be noticed. Other Valkyrian commanders heard about it. Some mocked Vela for trusting a human. Others quietly asked if she could share his analysis. Meanwhile, Jiho's understanding of Valkyrians deepened. He learned their language fluently now. He understood their culture, their honor system, their complex family structures. He even began to appreciate their art, their music, their way of seeing the universe. Minho and Daiho adapted too. Minho discovered he was good at understanding Valkyrian engineering. He worked with their mechanics, sharing human techniques and learning theirs. Daiho became friends with several Valkyrian soldiers, sharing stories over drinks, finding common ground in soldier humor that transcended species. The war continued, but pockets of change appeared. In sectors where Vela commanded, there were more communications between sides, more prisoner exchanges, more truces during humanitarian situations. It was small, but it was something. Lyra thrived. She had her mother back, and now she had Jiho too. She called him Appa openly now, without hesitation. And to everyone's surprise, Vela did not correct her. She seemed to accept that Jiho had become a father figure to her daughter. What surprised Jiho more was how he and Vela had grown closer. They spent evenings together, often with Lyra between them, talking about everything and nothing. About their lives before the war. About their losses. About their hopes. One night after Lyra had fallen asleep during story time, Vela spoke quietly. "Do you regret it? Staying here?" "No," Jiho said honestly. "I miss Earth sometimes. I miss my parents. But this feels right. This feels like I'm doing something that matters. You are. You are changing minds, showing both sides that the enemy can be understood. That is more valuable than any weapon. I'm just one person. So was I when I started. So are all of us in the end. We are just individuals making choices." Vela looked at him. "You made a choice to save my daughter. That choice led to this, to change, to possibility." Their eyes met across Lyra's sleeping form. Something passed between them, warm and fragile and new. Then on day 187 of Jiho's time aboard the Starborn, everything changed again. A message came through on an unusual channel. A human diplomatic frequency, one that had been silent for years. General Thane brought it directly to Vela. "It's a back-channel communication," he explained, "from a human diplomatic envoy. They are asking if Captain Park is alive, and if so, whether he would be willing to facilitate preliminary peace talks." Jiho felt his heart skip. "Peace talks?" Vela read the message carefully. "It seems there is a faction within human leadership that wants to explore ceasefire options. They have heard rumors that you are alive and working with me. They want to know if those rumors are true, and if you would act as a cultural bridge for negotiations." "Is this a trap?" Thane asked suspiciously. "Maybe," Jiho said. "Or maybe there are people on my side who are tired of dying too." Vela looked at him. "If we respond, if we agree to talks, it could be dangerous. Hardliners on both sides will see this as betrayal. They will try to stop it. So we do nothing?" Jiho asked. "We let people keep dying when there might be a chance for peace? Peace is fragile. One incident could shatter it. But war is certain. Death is certain. At least peace is a chance." Jiho stood up. "Lyra asked me once why we couldn't just be nice to each other. I told her it was complicated. But maybe it doesn't have to be. Maybe we just start with a conversation." Vela was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Send a response. Tell them Captain Park is alive and willing to talk. Tell them I am willing to talk. Set up a meeting. Neutral space. Small delegations. We start small." The response came within a day. Coordinates for a neutral station in unclaimed space. A date 2 weeks away. Each side would bring 5 representatives. No weapons. No ships within scanning range. Those 2 weeks felt like years. Jiho prepared with Vela, discussing what could realistically be achieved. They were not naive. One meeting would not end the war, but it could start a process. It could open a door. The day of the meeting arrived. Jiho, dressed in his old human uniform, cleaned and repaired. He looked at himself in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. He had changed. Not just physically, but in ways deeper than that. Vela came to his quarters. She wore formal diplomatic armor, less aggressive than her combat gear but still impressive. "Are you ready?" "No." But I don't think anyone is ever ready for something like this. Lyra made you something. Vela held out a small cloth bracelet, woven in both human and Valkyrian colors. Blue and silver intertwined. She said it's for luck. So both sides of you are there. Jiho tied it around his wrist. Both sides of me. That's about right. They took a small shuttle to the neutral station with General Thane and 2 diplomatic officers. The station was old, abandoned during the war's early years. Now it floated in space like a ghost, waiting to be given new purpose. The human delegation arrived at the same time. Jiho recognized some faces. Admiral Kim, who he had served under years ago. Ambassador Hayes, a career diplomat. 3 others he did not know. Both groups entered the station through separate docks, meeting in a central conference room. The tension was immediate and thick. Humans and Valkyrians staring at each other across a table, years of war between them. Admiral Kim looked at Jiho. Captain Park, I heard you were alive. I was not sure whether to be relieved or angry. I understand, sir. I know how my actions looked. You saved a child. The wrong child, according to some, but a child nonetheless. Kim glanced at Vela. And you brought us here? That counts for something. Vela spoke, her translator working smoothly. I am High Commander Vela. I have lost much in this war. My mate, my friends, years of my daughter's childhood. I suspect you have all lost similar things. Ambassador Hayes nodded slowly. We have. The question is whether we have lost enough to want it to stop. I am here, Vela said simply. That is my answer. The first hour was difficult. Both sides circled each other with words, testing boundaries, seeing who would give ground first. Old grievances came up, old pain. Jiho sat between them, literally and figuratively, helping translate not just words but meaning and intention. When your commander says this, he would explain to the humans, she means it as a sign of respect, not a challenge. When the admiral says this, he would tell the Valkyrians, he is expressing concern for his people's safety, not threatening you. Slowly, carefully, the conversation shifted. They began talking about small things. Prisoner exchanges, medical supply sharing for wounded soldiers, communication protocols to avoid accidental escalations. These are minor points, Admiral Kim said. They don't end the war. No, Vela agreed. But they reduce the suffering. That is worth something. It is also a foundation, Jiho added. Every peace starts with small steps. You build trust before you build treaties. Ambassador Hayes looked at him thoughtfully. You have changed, Captain. You sound like a diplomat now. I have learned from living between 2 worlds. I have learned that both sides want the same things, safety, future, family. We just come from different places. Pretty words, one of the human delegates said coldly. But words don't bring back the dead? No, Jiho agreed. Nothing brings back the dead, but we can stop making more of them. We can decide that enough is enough. The meeting lasted 6 hours. By the end, they had agreements on paper. Small ones, but real. Prisoner exchanges would resume in 3 sectors. Medical supplies would be shared during humanitarian crises. Communication channels would open for emergency situations. It was not peace. But it was not war as usual either. As they prepared to leave, Admiral Kim pulled Jiho aside. Your parents are still alive. Still in Seoul, I thought you should know. They were told you were dead. I could arrange communication if you want. Jiho felt his throat tighten. His parents.